Bring this meeting of the Procurement Council, New York State Procurement Council meeting to order, October 15th, 2014. Thank you everybody for coming. I hope everybody had a good summer, and I'm kicking off for the last remaining meetings of the calendar year. Just want to welcome new members, Mike White from the New York State Council of Veterans Organizations to the council. He's not here yet, so we will, when he's present, we will make sure to introduce Mike as well. And then also some membership updates. Ron Toscarella and Ron Romano are now appointed full voting members of the council. So thank you and welcome, and with your vote, and look forward to continuing to have a positive working relationship with you both. And then, for order of business, first is approval of the meeting minutes. On your agenda, it is stating approval of the minutes of January 28th. I just want to change that to approval of the minutes of May 21st, 2014. Do you need any changes on the agenda? So with that, if I could get a motion for approval of the minutes as presented for May 21st, 2014. Ron?
My first vote.
Excellent, excellent. Can I get a second? James? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the meeting minutes are approved. The next order of business is, just want to make sure that you're all aware, there's a code of conduct for Procurement Council members in your packets. So just want to make sure that everybody sees that and reviews that at their leisure. Everybody sees it? Great, thank you so much. So with that, we'll move on to Ann Phillips and with a procurement-related legislation update.
A couple of bills to bring to your attention that were passed and signed by the governor as part of this past session. The first one is A 9668 S 7314, signed as Chapter 399. It relates to provisional certification of certain minority and women-owned firms. This gives the ESD the ability to determine in a particular industry that the definitions for small business and net worth should be increased to cover that particular industry. This was referred to at the recent Minority and Women-Owned Business Forum, and what was mentioned was that they feel that possibly in the financial sector that they may want to engage in an analytical process to make such a determination, and which would be made public and as per ESD's analysis. The second bill that I'd like to talk about briefly is the fact that the procurement lobbying restrictions law was due to sunset in July of this year. OGS introduced a departmental bill which asked for a 4-year extension. During legislative negotiations, the Assembly and the Senate decided that a 2-year extension would be appropriate. That means that the procurement lobbying restriction statute would have the same sunset year as the Procurement Stewardship Act. And when I say the Procurement Stewardship Act, I mean Section 163, which is also subject to an expiration date of June 30th, 2016. Both the Assembly and the Legislature have indicated that they would like to have some discussions with respect to certain aspects of both the procurement lobbying law and the Procurement Stewardship Act. However, those discussions have not not begun, but we expect that as part of the next legislative session that we will be engaged in some of those discussions, which we will, of course, bring back here for further discussion at the Procurement Council. The call letter for the 2015 session has been issued, so agencies are in the process of preparing their legislative programs, and if there's anything of interest that comes out of the exchange of various ideas among the executive agencies, we'll be bringing that back at the next Procurement Council meeting. Does anyone have any questions with respect to what I've just talked about? Okay. My next topic is we thought a reminder might be useful to you. In April 2013, a memo was issued by Larry Schwartz, Secretary to the Governor, about responsibility provisions in state contracts. Members, there is a copy of that in your materials. That the responsibility assessments as part of the procurement process is a function of 163.9F, which requires a responsibility assessment for every contract award. This memo from the Chamber was to outline what was expected in terms of that responsibility assessment, and also requires that agencies post determinations of non-responsibility findings on OGS's website. The information that would be posted is company name and address, federal employee identification number, date of determination, and agency authority contact information. If you wish to look at the list, you go to the OGS page. You will see a heading titled Most Requested Links. Click on the bottom link that's titled More, then click on Non-Responsible Entities. At the current time, there are 10 companies listed as being subject to non-responsibility determinations. One of the reasons that we decided to talk about this a little today is because we think that there are non-responsibility determinations that are not being reported to us. So hopefully this will spur you to go back to your agencies and authorities and see what's happening with respect to this requirement. A further note, you have to know the determination by another state agency is not a debarment. That it does not mean that another agency is restricted from awarding a contract to somebody who's on that list. The reason that the companies are on there is so that if you are an agency that's dealing with one of those companies, you can talk to the agency who has made the non-responsibility determination to determine the facts and circumstances of their finding. Then you can make an independent assessment on whether those issues have been resolved with the company and whether the company can now demonstrate that it's a responsible company and eligible for award. If you are an agency who's made a determination of non-responsibility and you haven't reported it to OGS, please do so. For anyone wishing to write down, the non-responsibility page on the OGS website is nysnon-responsibility@ogs.newyork.gov. Any questions about responsibility? Okay, I think we're moving on to Charlotte.
Thanks, Ann. There's a handout by the door. I urge everyone, if you don't have one already, to take one on your way out. Controller DiNapoli's, one of his strategic priorities is transparency, so we're always looking for things to put up on our website that are useful to folks. And we just put up, about a month ago, our bid protest decisions, as many as we could find, going back as far as we could find. And I think it's particularly handy, probably for agency counsel, but, because it's completely word searchable. The actual decision itself is completely word searchable. I'll just go through it really quickly. For those of you who do have that handout, it's not that easy to find unless you know where to look. So you just go to the face page of the controller's website, click on Find Info About, and then our page is Procurement and Contracting in New York. And from there, it's very easy. You can search putting in parameters, or you can just browse. You can sort every which way. You can sort by date, you can sort by agency, you can sort by everything. You can select dates. You can, say protest decisions between 2012 and 2014. But really the best and most useful aspect is it's completely word searchable, right down to the level of the decision. In this example, we've done a word search on the word commodity, and you come up with about 6 protests, but they're not sorted like service or commodity. That's just a word that we chose. For the lawyers in the room, if you search by Konski, you get a handful, and I think that's where it gets really, really handy for folks. And we're always looking for ideas for other useful things that we can put on our website, whether it's data or information. So if anybody has any suggestions, we're always open to that. Thanks.
I just want to endorse this website because I played around with it a little bit, and it's extremely searchable. It was really great to use. I could put in late bids. I got 4 different determinations that kind of showed how thinking progressed over the course of looking at various late bid situations. You can put in your own state agency to see what kind of bid protests you've had in the past with the Office of the State Controller, which is useful if you come upon something that you didn't know about but is pertinent to a situation that you have today. So it was a great addition to the information that's already included on OSC's website.
Thanks, and we get foils from time to time for bid protest decisions, and just didn't seem fair, usually from the counsel of a commercial entity, and it just didn't seem fair that some people should have the opinions and some people shouldn't have access to them. So it's out there. Thanks.
Good work. Moving on, Kenneth William, our new Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Program Director. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks for the opportunity to have a chance to introduce myself and the program that is now starting and ongoing. What an opportunity to help our servicemen and women who have been disabled to, not only those who have businesses and want to be certified to be able to participate in the New York State programs, contract procurements, but also for the ones that are looking to start businesses. Okay, our division is gearing up. Well, the application went live September 30th. We've already had a number of applications. We're ready to handle them. We have the systems in place. We are about to develop the outreach across the state to put systems in place to help service-disabled veterans to be able to start businesses, working with colleges and universities, veterans groups, not-for-profits. This is not something that we're going to pay for. What we're going to do is just coordinate with the understanding that there's business at the end of the pipeline. So there's a lot of excitement that I've seen across the state, and it's a really, really powerful program, and thanks to the governor and everybody for putting this together. Some things I want to just remind everybody. The definition of service-disabled veteran is 10% service-related disability or greater, okay? And this program applies to the National Guard and Reserves as well as the active duty. So we have processes in place to handle all of this. We're spending a lot of time evaluating the businesses. The application, if you want to look at it, it's up on OGS website. It's very demanding of the information that we're asking. We're ensuring that the businesses are independent, that the service-disabled veteran has a 51% or greater ownership. And when we're looking to build this program ongoing, we're going to put in benchmarks and other things to ensure that, these businesses can perform and remain independent. I would love to have any assistance from any of you that are aware of service-disabled veterans, whether they have businesses or whether they're, thinking of having a business at some point. Our contact information is on the OGS website, both the email and phone to get through, and I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I want. The 6% goal is an ambitious goal, okay, and we'll be doing our best to work to get there. The biggest thing right now is to have the veteran businesses put the applications in to get certified and get the program moving. Thank you very much for your time and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ken. Any questions for Ken? If you can just hold just for a second, if there's any questions from the council? Charlotte?
Have you figured out how you're going to list those who are certified eventually?
Yes, we're going to have a database. We don't have the software developed for a grandiose database, so it's going to be a rather simple database which we'll control, and we'll be building it over time. In fact, I'm actually looking to hire a service-disabled veteran-owned business to help us develop the website if I can get that past the commissioner. So, we'll, to help us develop, an interactive, but for now it's sufficient to have, what we have. Any other questions?
Seeing none, thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Karanja Augustine to speak about MWBs and the commercial useful function. Just want to thank Karanja and Alfonso David, Deputy Secretary Alfonso David, and Mecca Santana and the whole team over at EDC who did a phenomenal job with the MWBE Forum conference that we had a couple weeks ago. I know personally, I had a number of people that I have meetings now that we've been able to match up, and hopefully we can assist in growing their businesses and seeing more opportunities for MWBEs and partnering with the state, and obviously with the goals as set forward by the governor from 20 to 30%. That's just a huge movement, and it's an excellent policy as we move forward. But that conference was really a great event to kick off just such an excellent policy, and thank you so much, Karanja, for all the hard work that you've put forward. But with that said, if you could please inform us on commercial useful function and how that translates to our everyday work.
Thank you for your comments there, much appreciated, and thank you for allowing me to come and address the body today. This past spring, the Department of Economic Development promulgated amended regulations, which included, among other things, a commercially useful function standard, which as a practical matter is sort of a judgment for the type of utilization an MWBE is performing on a state contract. The purpose behind the commercially useful function change was really twofold. Primarily, it was designed to stamp out fraud and to be a fraud prevention measure. That's not just because the mission of the program is to ensure that we're giving program benefits to only those individuals for which those benefits are intended. But it was also because we felt after doing an analysis that really not having the commercially useful function standard would put us in jeopardy constitutionally, which for those that are familiar with the program is always something that we're monitoring and keeping in mind. It really came about primarily in terms of the fraud measure from being contacted by law enforcement agencies that were telling us, hey, we're having problems prosecuting cases where we see state contracts that are in play, and that you're out of step actually with sort of similarly sized and mature programs, around the country and even some of our sister programs that are located close to us within the state. And then the second reason was really to provide clarification for our practitioners within our sister agencies. From my perspective, looking at the regs prior to this, I thought that it was implied already that the firms that were being credited as MWBs on contracts needed to perform a commercially useful function. But I think when we added it to the regs proper, it eliminated any ambiguity that exists there. And so I thought that that was really important. And we think that, it'll come into play, it'll play out in the following instances to give you a sense for how it's going to play out. So it's meant to clarify scenarios where the MWBE is acting as a prime contractor with subcontractors that are non-certified working under them, where you have multiple levels of subcontractors, like maybe in a very large construction context. In instances where you have partnerships and joint ventures, which is something that we're really trying to push, particularly in the professional services realm. And where just genuinely our state agencies feel that they have an MWBE receiving credit on a state contract when they're not actually doing the work on the contract. Sort of something that's just not passing the smell test, or they have some information which suggests that they're not doing that. The definition of the commercially useful function is found within 5 NYC-RR, section 140F. And it's a long and convoluted definition to sort of try and accomplish all the different areas of contracting that we have in our state, which is voluminous. But in brief, it's that an MWBE performs a commercially useful function when it is responsible for the execution of the work of the contract and is carrying out the responsibilities of actually performing, managing, and supervising the work involved. And we feel that the determination of the commercially useful function, when agencies are asked to actually assess this in different scenarios, which I'll outline a little bit later, they're going to look at the following factors. The amount of work subcontracted or performed, the industry practices in that particular contract type, whether the amount paid is commensurate with the work the MWB is performing, which is sort of at the heart of the assessment, the credit that's claimed toward the MWB goals, and then any other relevant factors. And we thought that was really important because it sort of gives our agencies the ability to use their expertise in the different contracting areas that they're in to apply the commercially useful function definition in a reasonable and responsible way to the kinds of contracts that they do every day. So we really wanted to make sure that this is a tool for our agencies, not a hindrance for our sister agencies. And we think that by allowing them to have those 5 factors, they'll be able to reasonably make that assessment. So when will the commercially useful function actually sort of come into play with respect to contractors' contact with the state? Well, primarily it's at the certification point, because ESD needs to make sure that the firms that are certified under a code for the kind of work they claim that they can do, and they have the capacity to do that. And that's something that we hear a lot from our agencies. It's feedback that we've heard and taken to heart. We want to make sure that the people that are in the directory can do the work they say they can do. The second is when a utilization plan is submitted against an MWBE goal. It's important that that prime contractor is giving assurances that everybody that's listed on that utilization plan can perform that commercially useful function. And then in instances where the contractor, where you have a problem, maybe you have a shortfall of a goal, or you see something is not going well with respect to utilization, and commercially useful function is a factor our agencies may use in assessing a contractor's good faith efforts. So that's all I have with respect to commercially useful function. If you have any questions, as always, you can contact me I could take questions now, of course, but at ESD, and I'm happy to clarify anything you may have.
Great. Thank you, Karanja. Any questions for Karanja on commercial useful function? Seeing none, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. So moving on the agenda, Christine Irvin, and presenting on preferred source recommendations under OGS Standing Authority. Christine?
Each meeting, we report to you preferred source recommendations under OGS authority. For this meeting, there is no report, but we may have one next month. At the last meeting on May 21st, you all looked at the digital printing application and denied the application. NICID appealed to the OGS commissioner, and the OGS commissioner rendered her response, which is also in your packet. I have a preferred source update for you. A year ago at this time, we had well over 100 applications in our queue to review for preferred sources. And I can tell you that we've come a long way since then. A year ago at this time, we had over 100 applications. We had many of them beyond 120 days, which is required by statute that we approve them within the 120-day window. Since that time, we have progressively pegged away at getting that list down. At the 90-day mark, we were holding about 60 applications in our queue. I'm sorry, at the 9-month mark, we had about 60 applications in our queue. At the 6-month mark, 6 months ago, we had between 40 and 45. And in the last 3 months, we've been running between 15 and 25 applications each week in our queue to be reviewed and evaluated. So as you can see, we have made significant progress. We also launched September 1st receipt of electronic applications, which we think is going to further enhance our ability to keep up with this flow of work. Our average time to approval is between 30 and 50 days. We do have a few exceptions to that, but we are continuing to work on that and make that improve. I do have an application for you to look at this morning, or this afternoon, whatever time it is. This all started, the New York State Preferred Source Program was contacted by DMV with an opportunity to provide mail fulfillment services at their Utica location. The DMV had a previous contractor who was participating for them or working with them, and my understanding is that contractor had not paid benefits, which was something that DMV required, and they were having issues with turnover and so forth. DMV reached out to both NICID and to the blind to see if either one could provide these services. NICID declined. The blind said they would like to do this. When we received their application, we checked the preferred source guidelines and found out that they are not approved for on-site services. They are approved for every other category of mail fulfillment except on-site services. So we told them that we would look at the application, but that it would require Procurement Council approval to get a check mark in that box so that they could provide these services. When we tried to go back through our records to figure out why they had every check mark except on-site services, we were not able to find the original application that would have been submitted to the Procurement Council. So I can't tell you exactly why that check mark did not occur. I don't know if it's a matter of they didn't ask for it, or they didn't need it, or they didn't think they would need it. But at this point, we've identified a need, and we've looked at the application and feel that it should move forward. Carrie, would you like to come up?
Well, thank you, Christine. That was a great start to my talking points. For the record, my name is Carrie Laney. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Preferred Source Program for people who are blind, managed by NAB. And I'm happy to be here this morning or afternoon, I've lost track of time too, to present this application to you. Real quick before I get into this application, this is my first ability to speak to the Procurement Council since the NICE Pro Purchasing Forum back in May, and I just really wanted to commend everybody who participated in that. I know both NICE-Pro, Controller's Office, and other agencies played a really big role, and I thought that it was really helpful in terms of providing really necessary education to the partners in government that we work with. So I just want to thank everybody for that. And if you haven't seen the PowerPoint on preferred sources, I encourage you to use it with your own colleagues to help educate folks on all the preferred sources. So thank you. So today we are asking for approval for on-site mailroom services, as Christine mentioned. And what that means is at the customer location. So that's a very geographic specific project, and that's maybe why we never asked for it before. You need to have an agency in that specific area to be able to provide those services. NYSPSP has been approved through Preferred Source for some type of off-site mail services for over 15 years. This includes, but not limited to, labeling, collating, packing, distribution, pre-sort services, etc. The application before you today includes these already approved services, the major distinction being that with your approval, we'll now be able to perform these services at a customer location. There is a need by state customer, as Christine mentioned, as related to DMV, so I won't recover that. So our agency in Utica, New York, which by the way is 0.4 miles from the DMV facility in question. That agency already employs almost 100 people in that area. And they supply many commodities through the Preferred Source program currently. They would be the ones fulfilling these services at DMV. So this would be the first New York State service contract for this agency, CBVI. Now, don't be nervous about that because they have a long history of providing services for the federal government through a similar program called Ability One. But this is a really exciting new opportunity for them to participate on the state program. So CBVI would seek people for this service, anticipated to be 10 FTEs, first from their manufacturing facility, where they would offer promotion or at least the new opportunity to develop their skills, and then pursue people who receive vision rehabilitation services or graduating from school who are looking for employment. And then, of course, anybody that CBVI recruits internally, they will then backfill. DMV is currently in contract, as Christine mentioned, and they're seeking to have a more permanent solution with permanent employees and a situation where those employees would receive benefits as I believe they intended originally. Just trying not to cover what Christine said. So we've been working with DMV, the agency who's represented here as well today, on several occasions. So we have already begun work on developing an implementation plan. We submitted this application back in March, and in June knew we had to prepare to come to this procurement council. So everything is happening on schedule. Our pricing was found to be competitive against the solicitation process that DMV had conducted previously, and we also looked at other rates such as GSA to identify whether or not we were competitively priced, and we were. Currently, there is no centralized contract for on-site mailroom services in the Utica area. So with this approval of this service, this would allow us to pursue the DMV opportunity and of course other opportunities that may present themselves around the state where we have an agency that's geographically situated to meet those needs. So as your summary also covers, it would be what we anticipate with DMV is a 5-year contract, paying hourly wages with benefits, 3% incremental increase over the 5 years, for a contract amount in the first year of $343,000. And NYSPSP, our staff, CBVI staff, would report to DMV supervision, and they would also, DMV would have a role in the recruitment process as well. They'd be able to sign off on the employees that CBVI presents. So I think that those are the highlights of the application, and I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Michael?
Michael Hurt, by the way. Not
Use the microphone. Use the microphone. Thank you.
Just a quick question. You indicated that you're going to do some expansion or consider expansion in other areas of the state. Have you done some research? Do you have some idea of where those areas might be?
I do not. Just, we have this particular opportunity Then we realized that while we were approved for all kinds of other mail services, we weren't for specifically on a customer location, so we're seeking that. And then we'll be positioned to, be available for other opportunities as they may present themselves.
Thank you.
Becca?
Just for clarification purposes, because as we heard, there was no record as to why this particular category wasn't previously approved. In your opening statement, you said that you just hadn't previously submitted a request for approval. Is that the sole reason?
To my knowledge, and OGS also looked back on their records, my history with the program is 1.5 years, so unfortunately I personally, but as far as we could tell looking back into the record, there was no reason why we never requested it before. I think in the history of the program is that we just made specific note that it would be on the agency location in the past, so it got framed that way when listed as we call it the check boxes of services. So I just think that is just how it got framed and kind of became legend over time. Christine's nodding yes, so.
Any other questions for Carrie? Excellent, seeing none. Can I entertain a motion to approve the application as presented before you? Thank you, Kelly. Second, Tom. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Sarah, if you could, please. All those yay, nay, or abstain, if you will. Sarah, by name.
No, I'm not a voting member.
It's all good.
I vote yes, but I'd just like to add that my yes vote on this doesn't imply anything having to do with the ultimate contract approval.
Duly noted.
Understood.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Ron Pascarella?
Abstain?
Thank you. Ron Romano?
I'm in favor.
Christine?
Yes.
ITS, Andrew?
Yes.
Kelly, OPWDD?
Yes.
James Bay, Aggie Markets?
Yes.
Mary Beth, DOH?
Yes.
Tom Hipchin, SUNY?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, Nick, I apologize.
That's okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So unanimous with one abstention. Thank you. So motion approved and application approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now it's open discussion. Thank you so much for everybody and their time. Just want to, a couple points of note. I'm hoping that perhaps at the next meeting, given the MWBE goals that have been set forth by the governor, that at the next meeting we can have a presentation from ESD as to the implementation of which. We look forward to that. I think is everybody in agreement that that'd be time well spent? Thank you. And again, Emeka, thank you for coming and just gave a shout out to your work and Deputy Secretary Alfonso David and Karanja and the ESD team. It was just an amazing event at the MWB conference. I know my calendar is now booked for the better part of the next 3 months.
I think we're all pretty booked for the next.
But it's all good.
Yes,
all good.
yes.
Thank you
No,
so
thank
much.
you.
Appreciate that. And I'd like everyone to hold a series of dates for the next NICEPRO purchasing conference. Those dates will be May 19th through the 21st. It'll be a 3-day event. We did a significant amount of outreach with the vendor community and also our authorized users. And we received a lot of suggestions to, I think, make changes to the event that would be beneficial to all parties. Some of those things will be, matchmaker with agency representatives. I think that's important for our vendors to have that sort of opportunity, one-on-one opportunity. We see that at a number of different events. Expanding our vendor training, I think that was well received, and I think we're looking at doing that as well as meet and greets. and then possibly expanding or having the opportunity for the vendors to present horizon sessions, or what I term as horizon sessions, as to what's coming up in their particular category of business or service. I think it's important, whether it's IT and the ever-changing marketplace in IT, security services or commodity services, and the different ways of doing business with government, having a number of vendors presenting collectively as to what that horizon will be. So Ann Sampson will be reaching out to each of you, and I'm hoping that you will all be able to help and participate with us as we continue to grow that event. Looking forward to working with you all again. Appreciate that. So with that. Oh, okay. And then at the next meeting, Sue Filburn from Niceboro will be doing a presentation on the e-marketplace and that vision for an Amazon-like sort of environment for doing business with the state and providing that sort of platform for our users. Michael, do you have anything?
Chris, you must have read my mind. That was my comment. Certainly, having participated. My apologies. Certainly having participated in some of the preliminary e-commerce, e-procurement sessions, one of the issues that came up was how the preferred sources would be identified and participate in that process. So I'm looking forward to that presentation. Thank you.
And she'll be touching on that point specifically. Charlotte?
I think if we could get, at some point, some EE1 training from SFS, that would be great, or a demonstration, because one of the biggest pieces of the upgrade of the SFS is procurement and contracts.
Noted. I think there's a number of guidelines that I think should be presented, here before the Procurement Council, as well as to the implementation of EE1 and SFS and those processes and the BSC and the like. It's a good point, Charlotte. We'll also put that on the agenda for the next meeting as well. Anything else? Tom?
I have a question to go back to Ann about 163 and sunsetting. You mentioned that there was some discussion maybe about certain points of 163 that the legislature would have. Do you have an idea of what those areas may be? And if so, can you tell us?
At this time, I do not. It was just a general remarks as to why they were going to limit us on the procurement lobbying law to 2 years as opposed to the 4 years that we had last time. But I think they see them as interconnected in some respects, and so I think it may fall more on the procurement lobbying side than the infrastructure that's provided by 163 for all of our procurements. But they do have ideas as they go forward, I'm sure, and as soon as we know, we will engage the Procurement Council.
Thank you. And unfortunately, lastly, but I should have probably done this at the beginning, we have a new member of the team, Sarah Gudowski, who is the new secretary to the board. Connie Resberger retired after a long and wonderful career with state government, and she's enjoying, I'm sure, smiling right now. But we are blessed now with Sarah on our team. She hails from Tax and Finance, which is an excellent agency, and I'm glad that we now have her services. So you will be seeing correspondence from Sarah in any way that, again, that we can serve you as council members, and we have information or what you want on the agenda and so forth. Please reach out to Sarah or any member of Niceboro to be able to for us to serve you. So thank you and welcome, Sarah. Appreciate it. Thank you. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Michael, second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion adjourned. And the next meeting will be, when's the next meeting? November 19th will be the next meeting of the State Procurement Council. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.